name, preferred pronouns, organization, and a greeting. Hopefully you've taken some time to kind of ground yourself, get a snack or a drink, and be ready to chill with us and be present for the next hour and a half. Thanks for all the awesome DJ and playlists. That was out to Travis McKenzie, who hooked us up with that awesome playlist. And looks like Jamie's going to be posting that for everyone to get the tunes afterwards. And go ahead to the, yeah, we're done with that one too. And now we're going to introduce Chastity Salvador. Invite her into the circle. I don't know if we were recording, we could stop for a moment. Are you able to pause it?
Watsi, my name is Chastity Salvador. I come from the Big Sun and Little Eagle clans of Acoma Pueblo. I'm a young farmer, seed caretaker, and community doula, and I've been asked to come give a land acknowledgement of Albuquerque or Tiwa territory. And so I would like to open our time here and for the rest of the programming, situating or centering or grounding ourselves in understanding that this territory of Albuquerque, its original caretakers are the Pueblo people from Isleta and Sandia. And I would like to offer a little bit of background into who I am and where I come from as a Pueblo person, hopefully to convey the importance of understanding this land base that we use, the resources that we use as Indigenous land, and how to work towards Indigenous liberation and work towards understanding as work as land-based people in this beautiful state that we call home, as sort of a movement to that. So a little bit about Acoma. Acoma Mesa is situated at the heart of, or a place prepared. Hako means a place prepared, and it sits at the heart of, or in the middle of our four sacred mountains, Mount Taylor, Coeshtima being our northern mountain, and you know, to our right is our Pueblo sister Laguna, and our homelands expand as far as over 500,000 acres, as far as the town of Grants, New Mexico, north to Mount Taylor, to Laguna Pueblo, and as far south as, I don't know, I've never been that far, but our sacred mountain to the south, Dautuma, which is my nephew's name, which it means our southern mountain. That's as far as I can think of. And I want to emphasize the idea that our homelands as Pueblo people are thousands and thousands of acres. So I think the way that I've been taught to know our homelands is really how was different. So my dad taught me of how vast it was, and in school I was taught that we were this little dot on a map, and so that's which is not the case, as we all know. And I wanted to acknowledge that the Pueblo of Isleta is rich in agriculture, it's rich in food, it's rich in understanding. They have a really rich understanding of water intelligence, as well as a thriving and living community. It's surrounded by the Manzano Mountains to the east and the desert mesa lands of Rio Perco on the west. And so the south end of Albuquerque is occupied Isleta Pueblo territory. And then we go to the north side of Albuquerque. And it's nestled in the east part of the Rio Grande. It's a thriving community since the 1300s. Sandia once had over 3,000 people who tended their agricultural ways, food gathering ways, and animal tending ways. The northern end of Albuquerque is occupied Sandia Pueblo territory, and their territory expands around 23,000 acres. And so, yeah, so wherever you are in Albuquerque, you are on Pueblo land, you are on Tiwa land. And so beyond that acknowledgement, we talk a lot about what work we can do in acknowledging Indigenous land and Indigenous sovereignty And it goes beyond land acknowledgement. I don't think that land acknowledgement is enough. It's not even a scratch on what we should be doing. And so I wanted to offer a little bit of what my experience and sort of my heart work, which is having those conversations, having those honest conversations within our communities and our communities of farming and our communities of seed caretaking. And so I want to move on to talking about what do we do beyond land acknowledgement. And it's really focusing on land back, this movement of land back, thinking about how do we get the land back to the original caretakers, and seeing that the Pueblos were rich in our land, in our home base, and what we're really focusing on is thinking about then what does it take to get land back or to be in that movement. And recently, the Pueblo Action Alliance launched a campaign, water back campaign, thinking about how there are water claims that our Pueblos are currently fighting, which simply put, I don't know if this is how it goes, but this is how I learned it. And so simply put is that there's still water claims that are like over 50 years old, and they're for water rights to certain areas where like water has not been existent for a really long time. And it's with the promise or the faith that there's going to be a compelling rainfall, for those places to be abundant with water. And so just thinking about how the Pueblos have that strong faith enough to be in these really exhaustive adjudication processes or in these water right claims for our water. And that's really what our culture, if you look at our traditional calendar or even our daily ways of life, it's all around preparing ourselves for ceremony, preparing ourselves to be in this space where we're praying for water, we're praying for yeah, that moisture that we all need, as we all know as farmers. And so a little bit about the campaign. It's around thinking about what I just said, thinking of water as a radicalized or a radical being, thinking about her and her spirit and what she holds for us, what kind of life she provides for us. She provides life to the seeds, she provides life to the people. In Acoma, her name is Kupashtowitsa, which means like the irrigation system. And before we farm or before we plant, we pray to her. We ask for permission. We ask for being in this way of reciprocity that will take care of her, will clean the ditches, will show up as a community to honor her being, for giving us so much life. And so when I think about this campaign, I think about how do we go about our agricultural ways in the metropolitan areas, or because I live here too, I live in Tiwa territory, and thinking about how do we just be in constant reciprocity and gratitude and advocacy of her natural ways of being, and yeah, fighting for her protection. So yeah, with that, I want to paint a picture around the food realities in my community to give you a sense of what the food realities look like within the Pueblos, being that we are the original caretakers of this land. And hopefully you understand what food access and food sovereignty looks like in a community like mine. And so Acoma is around 50 miles west of Albuquerque. And if we want any like pretty fresh organic food, we have to travel that 50 miles. Or we can go to Grants, New Mexico, which is 30 miles away. But then we will shop at stores like Smith's or Walmart. And then our beloved supermarket in Laguna, which I think it's been like in my lifetime that I see more and more people go in there. But of course, that's a lot of food that has a lot of miles on it. And so that's a mapping of where I come from And in terms of farmers this past year, actually, there was a revamp or a resurgence of 60 farmers. They counted 60 farmers in my community, which is an insight to how much access we have to growing our traditional crops, being that 60 is a large number. Like, we were all surprised that that many people showed up. Whereas in the years before, it's been around 30 consistent farmers. And so our community is focused heavily on cattle ranching and hunting. And now there's a resurgence of gathering our wild foods. Um, and so when I think about sort of the ways that this food colonization or this food assimilation or these ways that have kept us from growing our own food or gathering our own food have where it's led us today. So in this research or in this lifelong journey of learning about farming, I've understood that our community was so robust in our agricultural way that we would have like shifts. So certain farmers would be able to let their bodies rest or let their fields rest because there was enough farmers growing a certain crop. And there was a rotation for field restoration, and there was a rotation for which farmers would use like the flood irrigation system. And so when you think about how going from this place of, delegating one partner to, or not one partner, sorry, one farmer to grow one crop or one seed, for the next few years, just thinking about how strong that culture was, or how strong that seed was, how strong that community work was to what we're seeing now, 60 farmers showing up. And so it is a resurgence, but it's also oh, I got 5 minutes. Cool, thanks. Really, yeah, there's so much work to be done. And so um I'll sort of wrap up by talking about the future generations, because that's the work that I love. That's the work that I breathe. And it's thinking about how do we support our young Indigenous Pueblo farmers or gardeners or seed caretakers, thinking about how do we rematriate our Indigenous or Pueblo seeds back to our communities, because they deserve to come home and we deserve to caretake them the way we've been caretaking them. And so one of the recent experiences that I've had is with youth, with young people talking about, them being really excited about community ditch work and being really excited about going out there and really learning that process of praying to Kupashtuwitsa and thinking about, how do we foster this way of thinking and being within our communities to um, be in that mindset and be in that space of protecting those most vulnerable, whether that be those yet to be born or our seeds or our waterways that have been contaminated, that have been fought over, that are non-existent. And yeah, so sort of the demands I have here, demands on my script or my speech, but really what I mean by demands is what I would like to see when we work in solidarity with each other. So I have conversations on like what white settlers could do, because whether you're here long-term or short-term, there's so much that you can do being in an occupied space. And also thinking about how we can work together as land-based people, as people of color, as brown people, to work towards our sovereignty as Indigenous people. And so I talked about them a little bit, but one of the things that's just, I'll end here, is just thinking about, yeah, how do we have these honest conversations with ourselves, with our families, in spaces like here, which is why I'm so grateful to be here. And what does it look like to return this land, to return the water, and to return the seed? And so, yeah, I'll just wrap up by saying thank you, Tawae, for listening to me. I have some poetry that I will end with. It's part of the heart work that I do, and I'll just end on that note. It should take a couple of minutes. Okay, so it says, whereas I ask myself the question, what happens when our ancestors leave? What would accolades mean anymore? Which seeds do we bury first? And have you ever heard of so much hurt? Mother salt tears. Grandma tells me to mix her gently as they roll off my cheek and see how she blossoms into the river, a reflection. Faces with longitude and latitude lines start to form, a map to great grandmother who rests peacefully in the mountain. I miss her, her guidance, when grandma calls me tearing through this COVID-19 experience. Just as I miss the guidance of our beloved mountains, rivers, and pre-conquest water canals before they were intoxicated with mining drills. I want to tell her, Grandma, look down. Look at the power in your hands, the way they sway to the anthems of your teachings, the way they've taught me that seeds are no different than our children. Maybe that's why we write them indelibly, a stain in which the sounds of our heartstrings can never refrain from loving, from seeing the joy in our children's eyes as they come into the growth with the corn, with the seeds. Thank you. Tawa.
Thank you, Chastity. I want to acknowledge that some of you may have never experienced a land acknowledgement before. This may be your first time hearing that. And so it's a very important way to start any gathering of people. But like Chastity said, it's not even a scratch on the surface of what we need to do as a people in support of Indigenous people, lands, and water. So I want to share with you a little bit more about how to go beyond land acknowledgements. And as I'm doing that, it's only going to take a minute. At the top on view options, you can also add your thoughts. When you click annotate, there's a space for you to type your thoughts on this slide. But first of all, listen to what Chastity said. Take a moment to think about what she was saying, the demands that she shared, the organizations that she mentioned. She mentioned the Pueblo Action Alliance. She talked about the land back movement, the water back movement. I also want to throw in there to follow the Red Nation. These two, the Pueblo Action Alliance and the Red Nation, are two Indigenous groups that are doing a lot of movement work in solidarity. And know the original stewards of the land that you're on and talk about that. That's something that you could bring up in your classrooms, in the spaces that you're in, and teach this history of colonization of Indigenous people in your classes, but also teach about the celebrations and the liberation of Indigenous people. It's important to learn both, and not often enough is that curriculum included in our public school systems, or a lot of school systems. Invite and, when possible, pay Indigenous people to speak in your classes, at your schools, with your organizations. And just remember that we're all gatekeepers, every single one of us, and we have the opportunity to open that gate or to keep it closed. So reflect on when you have included or consulted tribes and Indigenous people on projects, and when you may have not, especially when those projects are around land use and water use, or any changes around that. So that's just like a tip of the iceberg, but we definitely can follow the leadership of Indigenous people. And I'm also including a link in the chat of how to start land acknowledgements. This is a brief guide, and it has some cool free posters you can download to just mark the land that you're on within your school. And so for those of you who did write things, thank you so much. And when we move on, if you could just clear what you wrote so that it won't show up on every single slide, but I appreciate what you all wrote. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Randy Costales, and I am the Strategic Partnerships Manager within the APS Coordinated School Health Department. Chastity, thank you for that. That was very powerful and a good message. Yeah. It's a hard act to follow. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you to the 2021 APS School Garden Conference. I'm excited that the conference is offering 13 workshops over the next 4 weeks and numerous opportunities for networking. And it is our hope, of course, that as a result of the conference, more students will have the opportunity to learn in the school gardens. And I would like to take this opportunity to make sure I thank the conference committee members for their time, their dedication, enthusiasm. It's been a lot of work, a lot of meetings, and just a great group of people. A special kudos to Kateri, Sava, our school garden specialist, for her untiring leadership. It's been a lot of work behind the scenes on this, and we're all excited that it's finally here. So thank you again to the committee and all of you that have contributed to making the conference a reality. It is my honor to introduce Dr. Gabriella Blakey, Chief Operations Officer of Albuquerque Public Schools. And I can't tell if she actually has joined us at this time, but Dr. Blakey is from Albuquerque. She attended APS schools and has held various positions within the organization. In her current position, Dr. Blakey provides oversight to maintenance and operations, capital master plan, facilities design and construction, school safety, student transportation, and food and nutrition. And we're really glad to have Dr. Blakey here and her supporting our conference, because most of those departments have a direct impact or involvement with school gardens. And what we're trying to do across the district is build that interdepartmental collaboration and support, partnering together to make sure that our school gardens are sustained, utilized and sustained. So if Dr. Blakey, if you're here, we welcome you, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Chastity, also for your words. And I love that you're outside when you were speaking too. I think it made it even more meaningful as we listened to your words. I just wanted to, on behalf of the APS leadership team, welcome everybody to the School Garden Conference. And thank you very much to the committee members for working hard to organize the conference sessions. And I'm very impressed with how long the conference is and how thorough it is throughout the next few weeks. So it's very impressive. And thinking about my speech for this afternoon, I reflected on the long history of APS and the staff in developing and using school gardens to support student learning. And I hope that everyone here is proud of where the district has come with all of your work, as well as a legacy that you are leaving as you continue the work. I'm also reminded of my own growing up experience as a student at Van Buren Middle School several years ago, which has a wonderful garden in the International District that every time I drive by reminds me not only of the good work of our school gardens, but it also always serves as a metaphor for myself as I reflect on my own growth as a student growing up in Albuquerque in the International District. And to support you, this conference is designed to provide teachers, staff, and community partners with training, resources, and networking opportunities in order to continually increase the use of our district gardens as an instructional, behavioral support, enrichment, and family engagement tool. It really is one of the places we have that serves so many different needs in one place in our school gardens. The primary reason that the district even has our school gardens, which should never be overlooked, is to support student learning in a variety of ways. And luckily, our gardens also provide a welcoming environment to our schools and an opportunity for schools to implement effective family and community engagement activities targeted towards student and school outcomes as well. APS is committed to working towards a vision where all of our students in APS are able to participate in enriching learning opportunities in all school gardens across the district. But in order to achieve this, it will take strategic support and efforts and collaboration between our community, our departments, and everybody in our city. At the district level, we have many departments that all play a role in supporting not only the physical aspect of the gardens, but also technical assistance to schools and curricular support for teachers. It actually is one of the areas that gardens go throughout all of the school district, and every department can kind of point to something with the school garden that touches them. And I think that speaks also to the beauty of our school gardens and how it can be used to bring us together. The real estate, facilities, and construction, our capital master plan departments ensure that gardens are located in locations where there is not a plan for a new building to go over the garden or on an easement, and that landscaping and heavy equipment personnel can still access parts of the school. The partners have facility agreements and the construction standards are implemented. Our maintenance and operations team support irrigation, garden maintenance, and other landscaping that is not negatively affected. And then our curriculum and instruction team supports teachers with training and resources in support of outdoor education and career and technical education support. We also have our school climate team in the counseling department who supports schools and school gardens and behavior redirectors with tools, ideas, and training for utilizing school gardens in support of school climate and to help our students as it uses as a behavior support tool for many of our students. And we have our coordinated school health department, the department that collaborates and coordinates efforts with all of these other departments to provide technical support and has been hosting this conference since last year. I'm sure in all of this, I'm forgetting other departments, but overall, our goal is to continue to increase our collaboration and to develop and implement district-wide interdepartmental processes to support the creation of new gardens and to expand and sustain our existing gardens. Within all of this, each school obviously plays an important role in seeing this vision grow in our school gardens. Each school has a garden team, which is supported by our school principals, that ensures that work associated with the garden doesn't stand on one or two staff, but that it becomes part of the whole school community and that everyone within our school community can be engaged in our garden. By developing design plans and having them approved by all of our departments that I just talked about, our schools are able to ensure that their gardens can be placed in the right location, our partners are supported, and that they can access technical assistance that is provided. Our schools should also have strong utilization and sustainability plans for the school gardens. It is important that all of the staff have an opportunity to use the school garden in support of all of our students and our overarching school goals. Having a strong purpose and goals for who uses a garden, when and for what will help your school coordinate efforts and incorporate soil preparation, planting, growing, harvesting into everyone's activities, as well as having a utilization plan that will help your school identify what is needed to sustain both your garden as well as the instruction and programmatic activities. This will also allow our schools to identify the best ways that we can use our community partners and play a role in sustaining our school gardens. Finally, and most importantly, it comes down to each one of you and our school staff who help maintain the gardens, provide garden lesson plans, provide opportunities for students to learn and recenter themselves outside, engaging families and the community through the garden, and showing passion for our school gardens. You all play a critical role in making sure that our students have their hands in our soil, understand how plants grow, learn content, are exposed to culturally relevant and nutritious fruit and vegetables, and that they get a spark that may lead to a related career for them in their futures. And last but not least, show students that learning can be fun, outdoors can be fun, and hands-on activities can be fun. This conference is for each and every one of you. No matter how you support or utilize our district's growing number of school gardens, I hope that each of you learn some new ideas, skills, and activities that you can put into practice with our students right away, and that you leave the conference knowing that there's a network of people, although some are way behind the scenes, but we are here supporting you to use the school gardens to support learning and success in our community. I want to thank each of you for supporting our students, and I hope you all have a wonderful conference, and you can send me any of your garden ideas that I can use in my own backyard as well. Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great conference.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabriella. Thank you for being here, for that welcome. I guess I'm up. Hello, everyone. Pull my notes up here, but I'm going to try to speak from the heart. My name is Kateri Sava. I'm the garden specialist for Albuquerque Public Schools. I work in the Coordinated School Health Department alongside Randy and Marissa. Just want to say thank you for being here today. A special thanks to our awesome planning committee who made this all happen. We had 34 people on our planning committee, and we've been meeting a lot over the past month to put together an amazing conference for you. We have 13 presentations coming up. Right now we have 74 folks in the room. Thanks everyone in the room for being here. We've got 218 people registered for the conference. We have 93 school gardens across the district. And I invite you now to shout out your school garden in the chat. I did just get a message from Sandra Almond, who was the science teacher who started the Van Buren Garden. And she just expressed to me that she's blown away by the beauty and the growth of school gardens. You know, we say there's 93 school gardens in the district, and there may be more. You know, we never really know how many there are. So please shout them out. Shout out your community organizations that make this possible. We've got Project Feed the Hood, La Placita. Who else do we got? We got St. Pius, Food Corps. I saw Jimmy Carter, Alvarado Elementary in Hawthorne, Rodolfo Anaya, Polk Middle School, Van Buren, RFK, Lou Wallace, Mr. Granger is here. Yeah, just keep shouting it out in the chat. Albuquerque High School, Kaylee Sisson. So it's hard for me to believe that just a year ago we were postponing our school garden conference. Our in-person conference was postponed just a few days before. But a lot of amazing things, you know, came out of that. We have the school garden resource binder. We had an amazing team of folks who are working on curriculum to provide a resource list of all of the amazing things people are using to teach school gardens with. We know we can use school gardens to teach anything really. So see, we've got Loretta Academy, Reina Luz Juarez at Whittier. We've got Cleveland Middle School, Wildcat Bloom's Garden. We've got Barbara Peterson from the Board of Education here. Summer Jones, what's up, Summer? Pueblo Isleta, Head Start. So just keep shouting it out. So yeah, it's hard to believe that we were canceling, and I think we've all been through quite a lot in the past year. And I think the story I want to tell here is a story of resilience. You know, our school garden teams adapted. You know, we were ready to not only provide safety precautions, to continue providing hands-on education and agricultural learning. School garden teams distributed over 1,000 pounds of fresh produce from their gardens. Wildcat Bloom's Garden was distributing over 40 pounds a week this summer through to different community partners and the grab and go distribution sites. We sent out 103 bucket gardens, and we had several other schools that sent out seed starting kits to their whole communities. So lots of awesome things and responses to these times. And then our school garden teams also participated in different national and grassroots initiatives. We connected with school districts across the country who are using school gardens to teach. The Growing Health and Justice Coalition held it down, really lifting up what this is all about, right? Which is relationship building and, you know, building strong local food systems. So we know that school gardens have been around for a long time. And, you know, as Chastity said in the beginning, this is, you know, a lifelong journey. So we know they're here and we know they're not going away. And I just wanted to lift up that fact that that's really, you know, kind of what Gabriella brought up. Gabriella, is that this is, you know, we always talk about how gardens are about education at the end of the day, right? And I want to take the metaphor of planting a seed, right? So it's the act of planting the seed that we're all about, right? You can destroy a garden, but it's not the fruit that you get, it's the act of planting the seed and the resilience that really matters in the end. So I encourage us to imagine, you know, in the future, what does it look like when APS is actively fostering support for these spaces, right? So here we are at the School Garden Conference, and, you know, we're virtual, but next year, hopefully we're going to be in person, and the year after that. So we have an annual School Garden Conference now. That's something to celebrate. What does it look like for every school to have a school garden? That's a dream we have. What does it look like when school gardens are lifted up in our design standards? And what does it look like when school garden teams have the support that they need to create a thriving school garden space? How do we support farm to school initiatives? You know, so we have school garden initiatives at the district level all the way up to the state level. And so how are we working with PED, the Public Education Department, to really support school garden learning? So before I pass it to Marissa Mora, our food corps service member, I just want to invite you all to dream a little bit and share a dream for school gardens that you have in the chat. And I can shout them out a little bit, but also Marissa, I invite you to lift up your voice. We've got food forest playgrounds from Jamie, student planting, harvesting, processing, and serving foods they grow in the cafeteria. Some orchards, old trees. Thanks, Erin.
Travis mentioned atole and pozole for breakfast, which I support. Making salsa and growing your own food. Orchard trees, hornos on campuses, resurrections of gardens. Cool. Thank you all for sharing and for being here. And you know, kind of on the same note of planting that seed, I feel like that metaphor has been coming through a lot just over the years. And you know, I've been saying this, but it's you know, it's never ceases to amaze me the fact that, like, especially in coming to this space and, you know, meeting the growers and the plant people that I've been re-meeting people from kind of just people I've worked with or known over time. So it's really great to be able to share this space with both familiar and new faces as well. So as Kateri said, my name is Marissa Mora, and I'm the APS Food Corps service member working with the district as well as a couple of elementary schools, Hawthorne and Rodolfo Anaya, this school year. So far, I've had the pleasure and opportunity to work with over 100 students of all grade levels, K through 5, and, you know, gearing up to work on the Hawthorne Garden, and just been, you know, enjoying it and everything else. So thank you all for having me. I kind of wanted to share, you know, a little growing story of my own that really came through as I was as I was kind of reflecting on my experience within Food Corps, but also just kind of like over time and how I even came to, you know, the growing and plant community in the first place. As an APS student, I had somewhat of a limited interaction with school gardens. My school had a garden, but, you know, we mostly used it to like, you know, sprout seeds, and we would release butterflies in the spring. I mean, I still loved it, and that was what it was, and I still appreciate having that opportunity. But I definitely like, you know, grew up not super connected to growing and gardening, and it wasn't until I became an adult that connection really solidified. And it was mostly through like herbal, learning about herbal and herbal medicinal plants, and it was through that mutual connection with Alicia Chavez that I learned about the Food Corps position in the first place. So shout out to Alicia for helping to bring me here. So when I was coming into Food Corps, I was kind of carrying this dissonance about, you know, my upbringing and my adult life, especially around food, and kind of feeling that I was raised with this quote unquote poor and unhealthy diet. And I was actively pursuing a healthier alternative to my roots. But when I came to Food Corps, actually a lot of that started to shift as I started to learn more, meet people and learn more from them. You know, I learned more about, of course, the indigenous people who stewarded the land of my hometown and the efforts necessary to restore rightful caretaking to them. I learned about what it takes to grow beautiful food from the seed to harvest, and what a community organized around the beauty of that growth can look like. I learned about what school gardens can be when they're integrated as a central part of the school's culture, and picked up some strategies for how to facilitate that process. And I kind of, you know, I learned what it meant to be on the other side of that teacher student relationship, and how cool it is to see kids get really excited about beans and squash and corn. And I learned about, you know, the complex history behind who grew food before, who grows food now, and the disparities and the resilience that exist within that living history. And that really helped me heal, you know, a lot of those wounds that I was carrying around my assumptions about my own, you know, food upbringing. And of course, I certainly learned that the best advice that I received as a kid was that the only constant is change, especially when you're an educator in times of COVID, as I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling this whole year. So yeah, I definitely feel like as a kid, I was physically planting seeds, but I was also, you know, spiritually and so forth, planting seeds for, you know, finding a life that I was more connected to land and community. And those seeds kind of grew into the realization that school gardens are a really important component of that connection for students of all ages. I'm really grateful to everybody who I've worked with up until now, and then especially all of those that have gathered here to both facilitate and attend this conference. And you all are doing really beautiful work that is helping students to reclaim their own connections to land, food, and themselves. And I will leave it at that. Muchísimas gracias.
I think Chavez, are you with us? Oh, there you go, on the spotlight.
Mother Earth has always been our teacher, our mother, a provider of life and all things. We must not forget her. She was our first school, our first classroom, and we are returning, remembering, coming full circle where we embrace her and remember that we need to care for her, and she is and always will be the foundation of our life and existence, and someone we cannot forget. We are eating and kissing the earth all of the time, forever grateful for all that she gives to us. We depend on her in many different ways. Everything is coming from her. Land, water, life, sun, interaction of all the bodies, all the spirits on earth. We are not the web, but merely a strand in the masterpiece of life and creation. There is magic in the garden, waiting to be found. The garden is a healing space, a space where we cultivate life and our connection to our sacred Mother Earth. Nature heals. Putting your hands in the dirt heals. Walking barefoot on the earth, connecting with every step, remembering we are connected and a part of the whole. Smelling the smells, wet earth, chile roasting, beans boiling, the sweet scent of flowers on a summer day, corn fresh off the grill, the taste, the smell, stimulating ancient memories, activating our DNA, and reminding us what it means to be human. What we love most about food and farming and all of this is we are participants in the passage of time. In the changing of the seasons, we are there, present, ready to receive the gifts. We are observing. When the springtime comes around, we are watching the ants, the spiders, listening to the birds, seeing and observing life returning and sprouting once again. The feeling of being there, being fully present and just listening, soaking in the sensations and allowing our spirits to become one. The feeling of being integrated. We are learning how to unify and not separate ourselves from Mother Earth. How to be one with and not separate from nature, from other species. We are all in this together. Planting a seed is like planting yourself. You grow with your plants. It is a sacred symbiotic relationship. We take care of the plants and they take care of us. Students are like crops, like family. Each year something different and unique. I cannot yell at a plant and force it to grow. I can only create a healthy environment for them to thrive, to provide resources when I can, nourishment, give them love and praise, and most of all, hope. Let us not forget our connection, that we are one and a part of nature, not separate. Let us not get misguided by a human superiority complex. We have an ancient responsibility to care for the land, for the water, for each other, and our community.
Can you guys hear me? Could you see all that?
We couldn't see it because you weren't sharing your screen.
Oh, that's lame. Could you hear it though?
Yes, we heard it.
Yeah.
Oh man, you guys couldn't see anything?
Yeah, if you want to replay it, we've got time. Share your screen.
It says you cannot share a screen while the other participant is sharing.
Let me
I
stop
want to
it.
let you know, Travis, that I saw you and it made me very happy.
I almost cried on it. You guys are awesome. That was the first time I saw it. Like,
I almost cried seeing you, Travis.
Miss Almond, I can't wait to shout you out later in my keynote. Well, let's try this again. I'm so sorry. There's really cool images here.
I was like
Let's see it.
texting you, hey.
Oh.
We might have to, okay, cool, there you go. Hey, before you press play, Travis, for anybody who's not familiar with one of these cool features on Zoom, just want to point out, there's this little vertical bar when somebody's presenting their screen, and you can shift it to make the presenter big or the presentation big. Since we're watching this video, you can like scoot it all the way over. I'm going to keep Travis in the frame, but you can make.
Travis, we can see the frame now. It's a beautiful farmer. Let's go.
Oh, cool. Okay, let's see if you can hear it.
Mother Earth has always been our teacher,
Yep.
our mother, our provider of life and all things. We must not forget her. She was our first school, our first classroom, and we are returning, remembering, coming full circle where we embrace her and remember that we need to care for her, and she is and always will be the foundation of our life and existence, and someone we cannot forget. We are eating and kissing the earth all of the time, forever grateful for all that she gives to us. We different ways. Everything is coming from her. Land, water, life, sun, interaction of all the bodies, all the spirits on earth. We are not the web, but merely a strand in the masterpiece of life and creation. There is magic in the garden, waiting to be found. The garden is a healing space, a space where we cultivate life and our connection to our sacred Mother Earth. Nature heals. Putting your hands in the dirt heals. Walking barefoot on the earth, connecting with every step, remembering we are connected and a part of the whole. Smelling the smells, wet earth, chile roasting, beans boiling, the sweet scent of flowers on a summer day, corn fresh off the grill, the taste, the smell, stimulating ancient memories, activating our DNA, and reminding us what it means to be human. What we love most about food and farming and all of this is we are participants in the passage of time. In the changing of the seasons, we are there, present, ready to receive the gifts. We are observing. When the springtime comes around, we are watching the ants, the spiders, listening to the birds, seeing and observing life returning and sprouting once again. The feeling of being there, being fully present and just listening, soaking in the sensations and allowing our spirits to become one. The feeling of being integrated. We are learning how to unify and not separate ourselves from Mother Earth, how to be one with and not separate from nature, from other species. We are all in this together. Planting a seed is like planting yourself. You grow with your plants. It is a sacred symbiotic relationship. We take care of the plants and they take care of us. Students are like crops, like family, each year something different and unique. I cannot yell at a plant and force it to grow. I can only create a healthy environment for them to thrive, to provide resources when I can, nourishment, give them love and praise, and most of all, hope. Let us not forget our connection, that we are one and a part of nature, not separate. Let us not get misguided by a human superiority complex. We have an ancient responsibility to care for the land, for the water, for each other and our community. I'm trying to find you guys. Let's see. How do I get out of here? I'm lost in Zoomlandia. Here I am. Okay. Well, thank you. In reggae, we call that pulling it up, and I apologize for the dry run at the beginning without the video, but seeing the images is really powerful. And just want to start by saying I'm an honor to be here today with everybody. And thank you to all of the people that have spoken, and just I'm feeling great and vibing out. I hope everybody's feeling good. Celebrate everybody on the call here. Jamie, are you going to get the PowerPoint up, or do you want me to pull it up? Or
I got it. You can
okay.
Just, unless you want, doesn't matter.
No, go for it. No, you, or I mean, I got it pulled up. Jamie's Zoom expertise is miles above mine. So thanks for bearing with me. I'm pretty old school. Beautiful. I don't know if is that full screen?
Should be, yeah.
Okay, I don't know, for some reason it looks cut off on my end, but that's okay. Well, I just want to say thank you all. Yeah, that's better. Okay, you can go to the first one real quick. So I'm going to be giving the keynote address here. Oh, is it? What's happening? Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so it's cut off on this first slide. I don't know why, but it says School Gardens Past, Present, and Future, a reflection by Travis McKenzie or Travis McKenzie. I will be giving the keynote address. What an honor. I've been working in school gardens for over a decade, and it's just an honor to be here in this circle with everyone. This is the Armijo Acequia, and we're gonna go, yeah, here we go. Oh, go for it. So I wanted to start by just honoring our ancestors. So everyone in here, I wanna honor all your relations, honor your ancestors, the indigenous people of the land, and all people and cultures that steward our sacred Mother Earth. We appreciate you, and we're standing together in solidarity. So thank you. You can go to the next slide. Chastity knocked it out of the park, so I just want to shout out Chastity and thank you for such a beautiful land acknowledgement, and it's going to make my life a lot easier because a lot's been said already, but I did want to take time before I even go to honor the indigenous peoples of this land that we call New Mexico. Our indigenous farmers and communities are my heroes, champions of the earth and of our world. And just a reminder of that sacred responsibility of caring for the seed, caring for the water, and really taking the hard work to grow nutrients and sustenance and food for our communities. This is Clayton Broskopy on the left, holding the sacred colors of corn, representing all of us. So it doesn't matter what culture you're from, what ethnicity you identify with, we all share a collective agrarian heritage. Somewhere in our lineage, someone tended to the crops, stewarded the land and water to provide sustenance for their families. So we appreciate that. You can go to the next slide. Looking at our pueblos and the indigenous peoples of the Southwest, we are in a natural ecosystem that we call a desert. And in that desert, everything is about water. We are water. And so these are traditional waffle beds. This was before drip irrigation system, before faucets, remembering the time when water was treated with immense reverence and respect. And we want to get back to that. You can go to the next slide. And thinking about the abundance, you know, Chastity shared some stories with us, and some of the teachings I've received is that our indigenous peoples in this land really worked for the well-being of each other. And you can see the abundance. Oh, you can see the abundance of the harvest and the crops, right? I look at this picture, and in the context of our conference here, I hope this will happen at a school one day, where we're celebrating with squash and corn and chile and hornos and coming together like we used to. You can go for it. And I also just want to take the time to honor the women. I was taught by my teacher, that women were the inventors of agriculture, and I just want to honor the woman and the sacredness of our female nation and our Mother Earth, you know, and just honor that sacred femininity that we appreciate so much. You can go to the next slide. So in that transition, I also wanted to honor our Chicano communities that have stewarded the land and water and brought many ethnicities and agricultural knowledge to this land from around the world. This is one of my mentors, Don Lorenzo Candelaria, and I think the picture says it all, that, you know, we're here, we're present, we're caring for the acequias, and there's still a lot of work to be done. We need to fight for the water and continue to organize and steward it in a good way. You can go to the next slide. This is another one of my mentors, Don Joaquin Lujan. We got Doña Dora and Don Lorenzo. But really just, there's been so many amazing elders in my life and mentors, and I just want to honor all of them. I don't have time in this presentation to say everybody, but just honor the elders and the knowledge and the wisdom that they carry, and the acequias. This is blue corn. This is at Cornelio Candelaria Organics, a 300-year-old family farm where I spent many seasons tending to the land and the crops and to children and students and community. and just wanted to take a time to honor all our acequia communities, Indigenous and Chicano, Hispano, mayordomos, mayordomas, just all the amazing people that care for the water and the land and the seeds and the community. This is Antonio Medina from Mora. He's a mentor of mentors. And I just want to also share that our elders are aging. And, you know, there's a saying, with every elder passing, we lose a library. And so he's one of the oldest elders in my world. And I just honor him for keeping all this knowledge and sharing his medicine with us in the years that I've been doing this work. So I just wanted to shout him out. And in this little transition here, this is quelite, one of my favorite greens of all times. It's called lamb's quarters in English, but I wanted to just transition to talk about returning to our ancestral foodways. Many wild crops are now being harvested and remembered. We're eating them, we're cooking them, we're talking to them, we're loving them. I actually saved a bucket full of quelite seed. And it's just really awesome to get young people to be a part of that and to meet people that remember eating quelite with beans and with chile. Maybe their grandma made it for them, or, you know, just like I was saying in the video, it awakens something in us. The food connects us to our ancestral ways, to our ancient DNA, and activating it with all these amazing foods. You can go to the next slide. The chile, I think chile, everybody gets excited. I think that's one crop, the celebrity crop, but it really reminds us a lot of work goes into chile, and we got to care for it to remember how we took care of the land and grew food for our community. And the next slide is just young people. This is from Villa Vista, or this might be from Monte Vista because Miss Claire's there. They are super stoked about taking home a bundle of quelite, and they got carrots and radishes and all kinds of good stuff. But that's basically, in essence, what I want to bring to the table here in my keynote. How do we get this happening more often? How do we get students on farms? How do we get farms in schools? How do we get young people excited about health, about culture, about wellness, and about eating yummy quelites and burritos or quesadillas when they get home? So just want to introduce myself because we kind of jumped in, but I am Travis McKenzie. This is my family. In the top left, you have my birth mom. I was adopted at birth, so I've never met my blood people, but that's Angela Hernandez, my birth mom. I have my adopted mom, Leslie, in the bottom corner. My dad's sitting with my girlfriend's dad, Herminio Esquivel and Alan McKenzie. It's one of my grandmas, Florencia Williams, my mom's mom, my girlfriend, Melissa, and my two sisters, Kim and Megan, and my stepson, Sean O'Connell. So this is our pack, our crew. I also have two husky puppies. I want to bring them into the space and love on them, but that's just a little bit about me. So I just wanted to share my first food justice experience. I was born in San Diego, and like I said, I was adopted. I first came into this country in my birth mom's panza. My first border crossing was in my mom's belly, and that's how I got citizenship, and I was adopted. And shortly after, my dad moved to the Netherlands, and my mom decided to leave San Diego and to move to New Mexico, not Las Cruces, which the map is showing it. We went to Albuquerque, but just to share on our journey here, we stopped in Arizona with one of her friends. And I was 3 because I had my 4th birthday at Pistol Pete's. And I remember running and playing outside at my mom's friend's house in Arizona. And I was in love with just all the fruit trees she had in her yard. I saw birds eating all this fruit off the ground. And it made me think, why aren't people eating this fruit? And I was wondering, isn't there people that would want to eat this fruit if they could? And I was 3 at the time, so I didn't know what a homeless shelter was. But I remember asking my mom, isn't there somebody that would want to eat this fruit? And she said, yeah. And so she said, well, why don't we box it all up and we'll go down to a homeless shelter. I didn't know what that was at the time. And I just remember all of us boxing it up. We went to a place, and I just remember the experience, not very vividly, but of just people enjoying fruit and sharing that fruit as a community. So that is my first food justice memory, and I have many since then, but I wanted to share that with you all because we all have memories like that. I grew up in the East Mountains. I attended A. Montoya Elementary. So I just wanted to shout out my teachers since we're in a school garden space, Mrs. Doherty, Miss Schluter, Miss Shebach, Mrs. Luna, Mrs. Matlock, and Mrs. Rogers. You all rock. Thank you so much for taking care of me and dealing with me. Then I went to Roosevelt Middle School. Had a lot of teachers, and I can't shout them all out, but I did want to shout out Mr. Brodsky, Mrs. Rudis, Mrs. Feltman, Mr. Ross, and Mr. Ratcliffe really helped me out. And just wanted to shout out Roosevelt Middle School. It was, I grew up in the East Mountains, and it was an honor to be a student in the mountains and a mountain person myself. And then instead of going to Manzano High School, I was the second graduating class from East Mountain High School. So I was a Timberwolf instead of a Monarch. And I made the choice to go there because I heard it was a good education and that teachers valued student opinion and that students got to create the curriculum and help be a part of what they learn. And I wanted to shout out Ms. Talmadge, Ms. Escobar, Ms. Fletcher, Mr. and Mrs. Gore, Ms. Salazar, Ms. Pearson, Mr. Draper, Mr. Scholke, Mrs. Parker. There was so many amazing teachers, and just really love that I was there and got a fruitful high school experience. So thank you for that. After that, I went into UNM to attend college. And one of the best things that happened to me was an internship at El Centro de la Raza. And that year they became a part of now what is known as the Community Engagement Center. And at the time it was called the Service Corps. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about this experience. It was a huge part of my college experience. They gave me the opportunity to explore my identity, to connect with my culture and heritage, and put me in a leadership position to bring life and culture to the campus and to the community. We need to give this opportunity to our students, to our youth. They need to be able to experience culture, music, food, art, agriculture. All are a part of authentic, meaningful education. I believe we need to create more opportunities for students to do meaningful work and to help create a vibrant and colorful school spirit and culture. I began to travel to after school programs and do drum circles with kids, media literacy workshops, and eventually I would find my passion and calling to cultivate crops with our children and our community. And also part of my UNM experience was the UNM Sustainability Studies program. So just wanted to shout out them. This program finally gave me the opportunity to take a class that's purpose was to care for the earth and make the world a better place. Imagine that. It combined academic studies with caring for our environment and ensuring that its health and vitality is sustained for many generations to come. And just a shout out to Bruce Mill, Miguel Santistebon, Maggie Siebert, Temma Milnstein, everybody with the UNM Sustainabilities program. I really appreciate my experience there. And also, it's no longer going, but the Research Service Learning Program. If you were in it, you know what I'm talking about. If you weren't, I'm going to try to tell you a little bit about it. But the RSLP engaged faculty and students with undergraduates in community-based research learning projects that respond to real-life needs and concerns. The RSLP serves as a means to achieve a broad range of university and community goods. And through this program, we're able to create a MacGyver, the mobile community garden installation vehicle. We're able to do service learning projects all across the city, the state, and the region. And we're able to utilize classes to create real world solutions and experiences for young people. I'd like to thank Dan Young, Patrick Stabe, Andrew Markham, and all the amazing faculty and professors that were a part of this amazing program. And we need more service learning opportunities for our students, not just in college, but in P through 12 plus. So appreciate that program and what they brought to the university experience. The first school farm that I was a part of was the Dragon Farm, and we're going old school now, located at South Valley Academy. This is Richard Brandt and his students. This was the first farm on a school campus that I went to, and there was a pile of desks, junk, and through the RSLP program, we got to see a farm germinate and blossom at South Valley Academy. I was in the class through the RSLP, and one day we were at UNM studying and doing academic work related to this. And then one day a week, we were on site at the school and in the farm. And I think that is the type of transformation I would like to see in education, that we're not just emphasizing academic growth, but getting people outside in the field, both metaphorically and literally.
Travis, this is Sandra. And I would like to say that you made an amazing difference at Van Buren. And it wasn't to achieve anything but beauty and growth. And you've made it, I'm sorry, I'm crying. You made a gigantic difference at Van Buren Middle School. And I'm so glad that I was able to collaborate with you. And so I'm gonna stop now because I can't stop crying.
And Miss Sandra, I wish I could give you a big hug. I'm going to shout you out in a couple slides here when I get into the Van Buren stuff. But Miss Sandra Allman is a big part of my school garden experience, and we're here for each other. And so I love you. This is Miguel Santistebon. He was the guy who germinated me. He helped sprout something inside of me and help guide me in our mission to plant as many seeds in as much land with as many people as possible. He taught me that agriculture isn't just about planting veggies, it's about planting and cultivating yourself. It's about service to the community, about finding the elders and helping and working with them, about connecting to our mother and to honor her like an abuela. He works at Sol Feliz Farms, and Sol Feliz Farms and Miguel and his family are a guiding light. And I'm so thankful for Miguel and his wife, Margarita, for stewarding me at an important time in my life and helping me find my calling and passion. Apprenticeship is not dead. I like to say I apprenticed with Miguel garlic to garlic. And ever since, I've been planting every year and trying to create as many edible landscapes as possible. Learning about our culture and heritage, our ancient responsibilities, the need for stewardship of the earth and our community, taking me to meet and experience family farms in northern New Mexico, acequias, planting at the Sanchez farm at La Placita Gardens for the first time, and my first time irrigating with the acequia, seeing the power of our culture, of our gente. And so Miguel is a big part, and we continue to pass that on. And so I just wanted to honor him as well as all my mentors. You can go to the next slide. I'm just quickly running out of a bunch of time. Wanted to shout out Miss Daphne Strader. I hope she's still here. But my first school garden experiences were at Kirtland, Whittier, and La Luz. And we used to have a group called ACLCP. Tony Watkins is back there. Just amazing people. Maria Marquez. And it was a social-based out-of-school time project and program, and gardens were there. And Miss Maria Marquez and Diane Kinnebrew were the first people that I saw put seeds into kids' hands and have those little tiny hands put them in the earth. There was no standards, there was no rule, it was just planting for fun, to see life, to enjoy the crops. And that really planted something inside of me, and I wanted to honor those people in my life that made that happen. It's been a long journey to get it going. This is Kirtland. But I just wanted to reflect that, it's a long time coming. We've been working at this for a long time. Kirtland used to have a big pile of dirt, fill dirt there before it had a garden. And we planted fruit trees at Kirtland. 5-6 years later, after we planted those fruit trees, Maria Marquez and the community school there were harvesting over 500 pounds of fruit every summer. And so I just wanted to use that as a metaphor. How many fruit trees can we plant at Albuquerque Public Schools? Can we get 15 or 20 on each campus? That would equal 500 pounds per campus. There's a lot of campuses. My math is horrible, but for me, that sounds like a lot of pounds of fruit. Why can't we do that? You can go to the next slides here. Food has always been a part of it, right? Bringing the community together. You can go to the next slide. And just for the young ones, doing it. You can go to the next slide. We're just gonna quickly move through here. So SWAP and Project Feed the Hood. I've been fortunate and blessed to be a co-founder of Project Feed the Hood, which is a food justice initiative with the Southwest Organizing Project. I was able to co-found it with Rodrigo Rodriguez and Joaquin Lujan. And we turned an empty lot by Carlisle and Gibson on the east side of that golf course into a thriving agroecology center. And I just want to say that when we created the community garden, the purpose was to be a vehicle for social justice. It wasn't just to grow crops. It was to remind us of the work that we need to do to empower people to want to create positive social change. We do it through organizing. So this is a picture of the Pumpkin Smashing Festival. This is at Van Buren, actually. But we create these events where we can have fun, smash pumpkins, but then compost it and talk to people about food waste, about starting their own compost, teaching them how to start a compost, teaching them how to be successful in composting, all that kind of good stuff. And you can see in the next pictures here, you'll see a little bit of the pumpkin smash, us cleaning it up. There's Mr. Mateo, and there's the compost pile. And, SWAP and Project Feed the Hood are always going to be there to respond to community needs. This was us during COVID. Miss Kate and Wilson just got so much love for you all. We're called the Bucket Brigade. We were able to share this idea with other people, and we got a Bucket Brigade in Santa Cruz with Food What. They loved what we were doing and modeled the program off of us. But the idea is to get students growing at home. And these are buckets. I would like to eventually evolve into growing bags, or those little growing things that people are using. But the idea is, let's get students and families growing at home. Let's turn yards into gardens. Let's get our young people the skills they need to grow food at their homes. And so, yeah, you could go to the next slide here. Well, it's supposed to say Grow the Future. I don't know what happened to it, but Grow the Future was a nonprofit that I started. And so in all the school garden stuff, one of my positions was actually working at Cornelio Candelaria Organics, the 300-year-old family farm, and bringing students to experience farm to school, right? A farm to school experience, a sequia education, health and wellness, whatever we want to call it. Getting students on farms should be a big priority of ours. We need to get students to go not only experience it, but to help serve and help our local farmers, help weed, help dig, help clean, help do whatever we can to get that experience. And so they can see where food comes from. Oh, there it is. At the last, I think of the last year, or, you know, the couple years we did Grow the Future, we had over 1,000 students visiting the farm every year. That's multiple schools, people from out of state. And my position was contracted by nonprofits, and that contract ran up. And I'll be honest with you all, I hope we can create long-term positions for that, where a young person, and maybe in this picture, could grow up and get a job where they're doing the same thing I did, bringing young people to farms, being there to facilitate it, organizing it all, coordinating it all, and making it happen. Because right now we don't have that, or we have very little capacity to do that. I got to go quickly because my time is, you know, dissolving fast. But that led me to work to organize and support school gardens. And we created the Growing Health and Justice Coalition. So when I was the guy doing that, I was working at 10 different schools in the South Valley and International District of Albuquerque. And I would go whenever the school needed me to help organize. I would be present at community school meetings, helping plan events. We had small micro grants we could give each school. This is the group, one of the groups we were presenting at the board. Board member Peterson's here. You know, so many beautiful faces. I'd love to shout them all out, but real quick, oh, Jamie, real quick before you go into that, he's going a little too quick for me. The purpose of the Growing Health and Justice Coalition is to continue organizing. And I would say that the GHJ is a big part of this conference too. The first conference was called the Gathering of Gardens, and we had it at Van Buren. And, you know, the work that goes on behind the scenes really makes these things possible. So I'd like to invite anybody who's passionate about this to join the Growing Health and Justice Coalition, to continue organizing and to continue to fight for garden education in Albuquerque public schools. This all led me to be a teacher. I was in the nonprofit world, and Jerry Heilman, thank goodness, created a garden position for me. And so I do have a Van Buren thing here I want to read. I've been helping and supporting Van Buren and their garden initiative for over a decade. And one of my mentors, Joaquin, told me, hey, Travis, go over there and check out this cool teacher. And I went, and the rest is history. And that teacher was Sandra Allman. Sandra helped start the garden initiative, and she received a small micro grant, and she wanted to bring science to life for her students and help empower young women to be scientists. And we were able to dedicate the Healing Herb Garden in her name. So there's a garden named the Sandra Allman Healing Herb Garden at Van Buren. And we started with a couple boxes, then we added more boxes. And finally, we got access to a flood basin, which you're seeing on the picture right now, that wasn't being used for anything. And it transformed into a thriving school community garden. We got an initial $1,600 from a 7-Eleven A-Long grant, offsetting some carbon emissions. Typically, that would be given to plant trees, but we asked if we could start a community garden, and they said yes. Eventually, it became the Si Se Puede garden. We then made the garden a part of the Welcome Back and Professional Development Days for teachers, and had a 2-day event where over 180 students, teachers, families, community members all helped create the garden space. Bev McMillan from Lynx donated fruit trees. And after that, with the leadership of Jerry Heilman and then incoming principal Sean Morris, we were able to create an actual garden elective class under the umbrella of the problem solving elective in middle school. I was also fortunate enough to do restorative justice work with Liz Walsh and do mediations and work with students in the garden to help them grow and make better choices in life. The garden was a catalyst for building relationships and experiencing the power of outdoor learning and garden education. We did walking field trips with fifth graders and kindergartners from Emerson Elementary to work and build relationships between the schools. We hosted community groups to work and learn in the garden. We hosted groups from across the country and across the world to show them what we were doing and to try and build capacity for what might be possible in the future. Mr. Morris left and Dr. Talbert came in and believed in the long-term vision for the garden. He wanted to expand the elective program and put the garden elective in the budget for the first time and in all the years that I've been doing this. Unfortunately, Dr. Talbert was unable to continue working at Van Buren, and the new principal that was appointed at the time discontinued the garden elective and resigned me to no longer be able to teach that class. Reassigned me, excuse me. It was unfortunate, and I would like to say that we need to do more to protect schools and communities from new administration coming in and disrupting beneficial programs and classes and some process that is equitable and values student, teacher, family, and community voice. I am a part of the land there and the community, and even though I was unable to continue in the teacher capacity at Van Buren, I will do anything I can to help support and strengthen the garden initiative, and we are happy to report that Jason Cordova, the community schools coordinator, and Peter Nardini with Lutheran Family Services are helping to create a school community partnership and have amazing refugee and immigrant farmers manage and help maintain the garden spaces. And think of how the school can create opportunities for students and families to continue to work in the garden. So one door closes and another one opens. So these are just some images. I don't have time to go through this. You can just go through. You could see the life that we brought. I wish I could say more. Real quick though, this slide, shout out to all the amazing cafeteria staff. And one of the things that sticks with me that a student said was, Mister, why don't they just let the cafeteria ladies cook food for us? They'd make us the best food. And that is absolutely right. And I dream of a day where we can grow food in the garden. All that food's from the garden. And these amazing women and people can cook the food for our children. That's what I dream of. Let's go ahead and go through because I'm running out of time. Community schools, there's Jason, give a shout out to community schools. This slide real quick. Oh, sorry. We grew enough salad for the first garden conference. We grew enough salad for 125 plus people. And so I'll look to do that next year at the conference. We want to donate some veggies. Shout out to SWAP's Donaldo Yanis Youth Food Justice Internship and our partnership last year with Together for Brothers. So even in COVID, we kept going, we kept working. You could keep going, yeah. This is, well, real quick, sorry. This is Donaldo, our youth intern. Just wanted to pay respects to him. We lost him to a senseless act of gun violence, and we continue youth internships to continue his legacy. So shout out to Donaldo there. These are young people, young men of color, learning about toxic masculinity, learning about food as medicine, learning about healing herbs. Look at these fruit cups. Why can't we offer that during school? You know, during passing period where our kids could get that, tend to the garden, go for it. Over the summer, I was able to work with the RFK YCC farm program, and they have water rights, and we were able to use the acequia. So you can see some gardens are small, some school gardens are very large. You can keep going. They do beekeeping, all kinds of cool stuff. Go for it. All right, so I got to get to here because they're going to kick me off eventually. So just real quick at Polk, I just want to say, where is the Polk presente? So que viva Polk. I'm a Polk patriot now. Hasta la victoria, familia. And I'm so blessed. Oh, you can just stay on that first slide real quick. I'm so blessed to be able to find my way to Polk Middle School. And I want to thank Assistant Principal Delilah Lopez, who I worked with at Van Buren back in the day, who knew my passion about garden education and reached out to me when my world was crumbling. And to the principal, Ben Bustos, who's from Mora, a norteño and a passionate leader who believes in honoring our cultural legacies and strengths and weaving them into our systems of education. I also want to thank teachers Shannon McCready and Erica Mays, who are my garden compañeras and welcome me to Polk with open arms. And we are fortunate to teach a combined garden enrichment class. So you can go to the next slide. Polk Middle School is located on the historic Camino Real and we will be developing a school community garden that will be producing food and culture for generations to come. We strongly believe that we need to have more opportunities for young people to learn and become involved with agriculture to ensure that our future generations value and cultivate our traditions around food, land, water, culture, and community. We want to collaborate and have, you could see the pictures right here. So we got right to work. Mateo and Anton, shout out to SWAP and Project Feed the Hood. We got soil, we filled it up. I want to shout out the National Latino Farmers and Ranchers Association, Eugene and Rudy. They gave us a $5,000 startup grant. We're going to be doing some garden work this year, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But in the middle of a pandemic, we responded. We planted buckets. We sent them home with students. We monitored them in our virtual classrooms, looking at growth and what was happening. Virtual learning, I don't know if it's just the South Valley, but I love the South Valley. There was chickens, there was turtles, you know, it's just, I feel so at home and so honored. We drew veggie superheroes, go for it. These are just things that I do in the garden. They got to see my home garden and its development. They were with me step by step when I planted all that. And you can just pause right here real quick. So we want to create an ADA accessible, elder friendly garden. We will be creating this garden to serve our student population that use wheelchairs during school hours, as well as providing a safe garden space where anyone else that uses a wheelchair could utilize. The beds will also be useful for our elder population that have trouble bending down and would it be easier for them to continue to engage and utilize our gardens. Now we had the idea, oh, you can go back real quick. We had the idea of, well, we're going to build these raised beds. Why don't we put some murals on it? And I want to thank Marisol, our chuleta, Alberto Rosales. He's going to be our guest community artist. But our theme is, how do we showcase New Mexico culture, food, traditions, water, land, anything through art? And we're going to paint that art. We're going to do it virtually. I have students signed up where we're going to deliver the lumber and an art kit. And we're going to have virtual workshops where we think about murals, think about symbolism, and we paint the garden beds before we plant them. And I am very excited about this. And if you'd like to be involved or help us, please contact me later on. When are you guys going to give me the hook? I don't know if I have time to get into these benefits. Can somebody check in? How many minutes do I have? I'm already over probably. Is anybody there on the admin team?
I'm not on your admin team, but I would love to be on your team for the safe space.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Is anybody?
You're 9 minutes over.
I'm what? I'm 5 minutes over?
You're 10 minutes over.
Oh, okay. So I'm getting hooked. All right. Well, let's just go to the last, keep going, Jamie. I'm just going to conclude here. We can go through the benefits. Yeah, here it is right here. Oh, we don't have time for the other thing. What is the future of school gardens and APS? And I'm going to transition to other people, but I just want to dream with you all in 30 seconds. I dream of elementary school students being pulled out to a garden elective program. I dream of middle schoolers being in a STEM-based garden elective program, ethnic studies-based garden elective program. I dream of high schoolers like John Wright doing community farming, doing internships where they're getting compensated for their hard work. I think we can dream together. And I don't have time to paint the future picture here, but I would just ask everyone here, what does that look like? And you can put it in the chat right now, would be awesome. We already did it earlier, but what would you like to see the future of school gardens and APS look like? And thank you so much for your time. Apologize for being over, but I really appreciate everybody. And thank you so much. And I'll put my contact info in the chat and you could get a hold of me and we can help you. I'm also a resource to get, help your school garden out. We're stronger together, somos unidos, and we're here for you. So thank you so much.
I want to let you know that I have known this man for over 10 years, and he is one of the most honest, respected people I've ever met. So contact him.
Well, we've had such great speakers. I think that for those of you who don't know me, my name is Daphne Strader. I'm the director of the Coordinated School Health Department. I'm going to talk a little bit and kind of transition us in a little bit of ways. And I'm here with Randy. He's going to do part of the presentation as well. I really wanted to, you know, recognize all of the presenters before. I think that it's such a great stage that everyone is setting around this work. I love everything that folks are saying. I really want to also, you know, acknowledge what, you know, Chastity and what Chavez were saying around, you know, our seeds are our students and our students are our seeds. And you can see through all of everyone's comments that there's so many opportunities for us to be able to spark interest and opportunities for the students of APS. And for me, you know, I was raised in Taos, on occupied Taos Pueblo land. And I also was raised using a acequia and having a community garden on our property, small community garden that our neighbors were able to use. And at the time I hated picking weeds. It was like the worst possible thing. Later on came to recognize that I can grow things, right? I can sustain myself. And coming into, well, I've been in APS for about 16 years. And when I started moving into doing out of school time, I thank you, Chavez, so much for talking about ACLCP and the work that we did. For me, the out of school time in APS, before and after school programs, really just grounded so many things and is like the ancestor of a lot of things that happen in APS, including a lot of a spark for community gardens, as well as for community schools. For me, family and community involvement, student engagement, service learning really was sparked through those opportunities. And I love that photo of us, you know, when we were planting the fruit trees at Kirtland. I have it in my office. So Randy and I wanted to really talk about, you know, the whole notion of a garden initiative. You heard Gabriella talk about all of the folks that are kind of behind the scenes. And, you know, it's really clear to me from everyone, what everyone is talking about so far, is that there's so many opportunities, and that the work of school gardens and the activities that everyone's engaging in around school gardens are so diverse. There's so many options and opportunities. We just wanted to make sure that everyone is really grounded in the notion that there's so many different elements that come into play around school gardens. And sometimes I know for you all, it really looks like, you know, the folks that are at the school level, or it might be one or two teachers that are really driving a lot of the work. But there's really this much larger community behind you. And so we just wanted to make sure that you can learn some of the processes and strategies for really having a garden initiative that's really sustainable, right? And that the district will be able to support in the long run, and that the school will support, so that we, you know, because there have been issues, as you guys well know, around that. So go ahead and advance the slide. So, you know, you can hear just from the conversations that we've had so far, the broad range of opportunities that come into play around school gardens. And, you know, in APS, it's you know, although the district has so much property, the reason, the purpose for school gardens, first and foremost, for the district is to provide that educational tool, right? To provide opportunities that spark student learning. And so, you know, sometimes that may look like integrating STEM or nutrition or social emotional learning into instruction. You know, like Chavez was talking about the work that we had done around service learning, project-based learning, hands-on, so that students are really feeling engaged and understanding the opportunities for around learning. Gardens can just be used as spaces for learning. So, some of the staff in schools they may not actually be utilizing the garden other than a beautiful space to be outside in nature. We're introducing students to STEM and agricultural careers and opportunities, giving a lot of students exposure to and ability to taste a variety of healthy vegetables and fruits that they might not have normally had access to. And really providing students a real clear notion about how food is grown and some skills around growing food and harvesting vegetables and fruits and that sort of thing. So there's many elements that kind of come into play around that. So some of the components that I want everyone to be really grounded in to make sure that everything is very strategic, coordinated, pulled together, and that we can have sustainable initiatives. And when I say initiatives, I say I'm talking about not just the physical garden, but all of the activities that come together around the garden. And it may be variety of teachers or at a school time or a variety of folks, family engagement, that are all kind of coming together and around that. So I'm talking about the broader concept of an initiative. And really what that takes, some of the good components around that are, district level stuff. And I'll talk a tiny bit more about that. They include like approvals, or at least getting everyone on the same page, agreements with partners, capacity building, like even this conference. School level, I know that a lot of you have school level teams, and we're encouraging everyone to have plans as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, it really comes down to the staff and classroom level, because like everyone's been talking about, it's about the relationships that are built in order to make all of this happen and move it along and move everything forward. So, clearly, having been part of school garden work in the district for over 10 years, I am really aware of the fact that oftentimes school gardens are sparked by one or two very passionate and amazing souls, right? What we hope to do in the long run is to make sure that schools actually have a team of folks and that the principal's obviously on board, but that not just the principal, but the whole school community has a role and a voice and a support, and both, shared leadership and shared accountability for school gardens. So it may be teachers, EAs, community school coordinators, families, volunteer coordinators, a variety of people that are part of that team. And really that team, as you guys know, because most of you are on them, really create the vision for the school garden. What is the purpose? Why do we have a garden? How is it going to be maintained? How do we make sure that everyone knows that they can access it? Who's going to utilize it for what purposes? How is the broader school community going to be on board? So go ahead to go to the next slide. So one of the pieces that we have found out the hard way over the years of having school gardens is that oftentimes, because it's such a beautifully done grassroots approach at the school level, which we're not saying it should not be, but the district departments that Gabriella was talking about haven't always been in the mix. And then unfortunately, maybe there's all this passion and a garden was placed in, and then come to find out 2-3 years down the line that it was actually in the capital master plan for a building to go there. So when schools have kind of a design plan and that you work with Kateri to make sure that everyone's on board with that design plan, which is really just where is the location going to be, making sure it's not in an easement or a shared space with the city and the county, which we have a lot of within the district. What is its size going to be? What are the watering systems? What are some of the physical elements? Then it's not necessarily the concept of approval by the departments, but we can assure and collaborate with all of those entities to make sure that that is going to work out. What I can say is no one's intention is that there aren't school gardens. We have a commitment within the district to ensure that they are. That's why we need to make sure that a design plan is very clearly laid out and that you're working with all of the folks at the district level so that we can make sure that those are sustained and in the right location, and that the district hasn't promised someone else to use the space. And there's just a variety of issues around that. So that's one of the elements. If you can advance the slide, please. And like Gabriella was saying, it's, real estate is part of that. They do a lot of facilities agreements. There's design and construction, there's capital master plan, maintenance and operations, even APS police when we have folks coming in outside of school hours, and then our department as well. And, really it's about making sure that prior to the development of any new space or expansion into a new space, we can make sure that everyone is on the same page that we can get partnership agreements. I know, like with the Van Buren space now, Lutheran Family Services is a critical component of that, and we can make sure that there's agreements that come into it. The next piece is the utilization plan, which is the slide we're on now. And I think that this comes down to what really are we going to use the garden for? How can you get a variety of people on board? Is it going to be used for family and community engagement activities? One of the presentations that's going to be during the conference is about behavioral support. So like restorative practices and how behavior redirectors and other staff could utilize gardens for those spaces. So there's like we said, so many variety of ways that the gardens can be utilized. And the more we have an idea throughout the school about who's going to use the garden in which ways, we can also blend the maintenance of the garden into those activities. So everyone has a role in the upkeep and support of the gardens as well. But some of the considerations you might want to think about within the utilization plan is, which students, what are the opportunities going to look like? Will there be staff wellness or community engagement? How are the teachers supported to utilize the garden, to share lesson plans, curriculum, and resources? Will there be volunteers, and do those volunteers have the support that they need? Will there be community partner organizations, and what supports do we need to do to make that mutually beneficial? And then what will we do with them, with our harvest? Is it that we want to focus more on food pantry or tastings, or is it fundraising? Is it we're going to hand it to the community? So there's a lot of considerations in terms of that. And then the last item, if you move to the next slide, please, is really about maintenance and sustainability. And I know that the language that I'm using seems very technical. What I'm trying to do is make sure that your passions and the vision that you guys have for your gardens is here in the long run. When I know that Travis and I can go to Kirtland and see the trees that we planted and know that students are engaged in that and families are supported in that, it's because it was sustained and the community was part of that, the district was part of that. And that's one of the true blessings of school garden work, is when you can see that spark in students, when you can see things that are maintained in the long run. So, you know, I think that maintenance of the actual school gardens is a blessing, and sometimes it can be a challenge. You know, who's going to handle it during the summer, or what's happening during session timeframes. You know, understanding what our plant choices are and where they are best located. And really, these are all of the conversations that we're hoping that we want to make sure that you get the support from the district level in order to make sure that we're on board as well. The more Kateri and Randy and I are on the same page with you, and then we can sweep away some of the issues perhaps that may come in the way, and we can look for opportunities and resources to make sure that your vision comes to life. So now Randy just has a few more slides, and it's about real concrete resources and support that is available. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Daphne. And of course, I'm not going to assume that everybody that's at the conference knows. We have a good core group of people here within our district that are familiar with some of the things that we're doing, but that maybe for those of you that are not familiar with APS and what we're offering at this time, we do, again, as we know, Kateri is our school garden specialist, and she provides a lot of support to our schools and teams, and is also working with us to build those relationships between the different departments that we have within the district that have a role in supporting school gardens. So she is a great resource. She is only one person, and her idea, you know, part of what we're trying to get within the schools, again, is the school teams, garden teams. They can create that vision and that plan and the sustainability plan, how they're going to utilize it, making sure there's communication at the district level so that, you know, people understand that, you know, hey, if we're going to plan that space, as Daphne said, it's not already been identified for another building. And if we build a garden, it's going to be taken down in a year or two. So Kateri is one of our great resources. She puts out a monthly newsletter that has all kinds of information in it, including information about how to grow, what to grow, when to grow, grant opportunities for funding. We also include usually a lesson plan from our food corps member, Marissa. So there's a lot of information that's contained within that newsletter. So she's a great resource. Let's go to the next slide. And again, professional development and capacity building. I think that, you know, in the past, we've done some great trainings with teachers and out of school time staff and others through our relationship with Explora. We had some training. Here's a picture of one that we did several sessions at Kirtland Elementary School within their garden. So capacity building is critical. And this conference is a great example of professional development, you know, with all the sessions that we're offering, but also with the technology that we're using, people are going to have the opportunity to network in between sessions. So it feels more like a conference. Next slide. And of course, the curriculum and lesson plans. We have what we call the live binder, and it has many lessons within it, because we find that, again, at the school level, we want to be able to encourage teachers to utilize the school gardens as learning centers. And, you know, part of that is providing the curriculum and lesson plans so that they feel more confident, more comfortable. And again, that's part of professional development. So to be a resource, and obviously by some of the people that you've already heard here, we have a lot of people within our community here that have a lot of information and can be an asset or a partner with you. Now, sometimes there are opportunities for partnerships with community members or community organizations and agencies. And so we can provide support with that. And right now we're working with several schools with their relationships that they're having with different entities, and working with the real estate department to develop those agreements. We, as the Coordinated School Health Department, we oversee the volunteer program. We oversee the out of school time programs. We have a lot of programs within our department, and we can help build bridges if you need that type of support. And the best place to start with that is with Kateri as our school garden specialist. And if she can't provide the support, she will then be able to provide the connection with somebody in our department. Okay, the next one. And of course, we can help you with ideas on as an outdoor classroom space to support wellness. And we know that there have been students that we've heard from in APS that, the garden was a place for them to be grounded, and actually has helped with, there was testimony from one student, I think at Van Buren. He said, I used to have all these behavior issues, and being out in the garden has helped me to calm down. And it's amazing because when we did some of the professional development opportunities, we had a lot of special ed teachers come to our sessions because they wanted to be able to take their students out into the garden to help them learn also. Okay, next one. So here's the contact information. Kateri is our school garden specialist. Daphne is the director of the Coordinated School Health Department, and I am the manager of the Strategic Partnership Unit. And again, we're united in promoting students learning in our school gardens. And if you have any questions, you can always email us, and we'll be glad to respond. So again, thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you while I have the opportunity again to all of our speakers today, to the committee, and for all of you that have taken time to attend our opening session, the first of many sessions to come. And so thank you for being here.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Just echo what Randy said. We are a little bit over time already. We're about 4 minutes over. So I was just going to do an overview of the sessions and what's to come with the conference. So if you want to stick around, please do. I'm also just going to right away post in the chat this YouTube video that I made to kind of help us use the app. It's Huva. And so hopefully this will help everyone feel really comfortable navigating the space. Just supposed to kind of keep us together in one space. But I do, I'm feeling like I need to get up and move too, so I wouldn't be offended if anyone heads out right now. But I'm just gonna do a quick overview of our awesome conference sessions, starting with our themes. So this is week 1, kickoff week. And our theme is celebrating community, culture, and connection, which rings so true with all of our speakers today. Tomorrow we'll start with our first presentations. We'll have Gabino Noriega, who was on the call, but he had to jump off to go teach a class. Shout out to the teachers. There's so many teachers who are presenting at this conference, and it just really blows my mind that y'all are, doing these amazing presentations and teaching and doing everything you do. So thank you, thank you. Gabino will be presenting on curanderismo, which is a traditional healing. The presentation is called Connection to la Tierra through the practices of our ancestors. And he teaches at the Career Enrichment Center. He's one of our designated, garden teachers. He has a curanderismo class. We also have agriculture classes and horticulture classes at the high school level. So definitely want to lift those up and get more of those across the district. Gabino will be teaching with several students about their greenhouse and indoor garden. about medicinal plants. He'll also be sharing on how to collect the hierbas and plants in a ceremonial way that acknowledges the land. So please tune in for that. We will come together at 3:30 every day as a whole group to talk about the theme, and then we'll send you off into your session, and you'll have a choice of 2 sessions. So we'll have Gabino's session as well as Liana Son, who is a farmer and food system organizer, and they will be presenting on adapting growing to site and season. So participants will be able to plan for their sites according to season and community, regarding appropriate food crops, and summarize and address considerations regarding the site, like seasons and community needs and desires. So it's a hard choice, but don't worry, we're gonna record all the sessions. So if you have a session that you're really having a hard time deciding between, you can go back and watch the sessions later. I do encourage you to stick around, because after the workshops, we will have a closing and group share. And at that time, we'll have a chance to share as a whole group, as well as maybe have a chance to win some prizes. So we have some really cool prizes set up for folks to win. Then we'll move into our second week. Next week is coming back to the school garden, very appropriate as we will actually be going back to school next week. On our first day, on Tuesday, we will have a presentation from Miss Nisa Patterson, who I believe is on the call. But she also made a video, so we can play that right now, learn about her session.
Hi, I'm Nisa. I'm doing a presentation at the School Garden Conference. Called Outdoor Learning, Health and Safety Practices. It's on Tuesday, April 6th. The School Garden Conference is from 3:30 to 5:30, and this is the day I'm doing my presentation. And I'm going to be talking about being with children outside in a school garden and how to keep safe. I'm going to be talking about masking. I'm going to be talking about disinfecting. I'm going to be talking about distance, 3 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet. What is this distance thing? And I'm going to be talking about some of what we know about how COVID transmits outdoors. And I have a master's in public health, and so I'm really excited to be presenting. See you then. Hi, I'm Nisa.
So we'll have that presentation from Nisa, and then you'll also be able to choose a workshop with Susan Chapoul, who's over at Wilson Middle School, and Kate Porterfield, a volunteer at the Bloom's Garden at Wilson. You can play their video.
Hi, I'm Susan Chapoul, and I'm the garden elective teacher at Wilson Middle School.
I'm Kate Porterfield, and I'm a community volunteer with Wildcat Bloom's Garden at Wilson.
Our presentation is titled Gardens in a Small Space, Container Gardens and Hydroponic Systems. We're going to be talking about the hydroponic systems.
We're going to show you and talk about a large hydroponic system we have here in the classroom, and then we're going to demonstrate and talk to you about small individual systems that you can make with your students.
So join us on Tuesday, April 6th at 3:30 to learn how to incorporate hydroponics into your classroom. Hi, I'm Susan Chapoul, and I'm the garden.
Yay, awesome. Shout out to Kate and Susan. And then our next content day, next Thursday, we will have 2 presentations. The first is from Allison Brody at Explora. And Allison will be sharing about basically how to explore scientific phenomena through the garden. So learning about biological processes, energy and matter, mathematics, data collection, analysis, and cooking and nutrition, just are a few of the topics. So the presentation will share resources that meet STEM and science standards. So if you're looking for those standards, check out Allison's workshop. She does ask that you collect a few materials ahead of time. So grab a clear cup, paper towel, radish seeds, and water if you can. If you need some seeds, reach out to me, schoolgardens@aps.edu, and we can try to get you some before that session. Just for a reminder, if you do need to look at any of these descriptions and learn more, they're all in the HOVA app. I'm just going over them right now. So our second workshop that day in parallel is one from Jordy Hicks, AP Bio teacher and environmental science teacher at Atrisco Heritage High School. And we could play just up to 40 seconds on that video.
All right, so welcome to my video series on outdoor education. My name is Jordy Hicks. I'm a science teacher at Atrisco Heritage Academy High School. And I've been utilizing the outdoors for my teaching for 10 years, which is about as long as I've been teaching. Now, the outdoors has always been a really important part of my life, and it's where I find a lot of comfort, and I want to bring that into my classroom. Not just so that I enjoy teaching a little bit more, but also so my students can gain some insight, gain some experience, breathe some fresh air, get some vitamin D, and sort of experience the ever-changing dynamic cacophony of sights, sounds, and textures that can come with just spending some time outside.
And I saw Catherine had a question in the chat about if you can attend.
All right, so welcome to
than you signed up for, and that's totally cool. All of the workshops are open and available on HOVA. You can have access to the links at any time, or not at any time, at the time of the session. I do encourage you to add the session to your calendar, just so we can give presenters a heads up of how many folks they're going to have in their session. So that's week 2. Then we'll be going, the end of week 2, we'll have an awesome little networking day on Friday. Will be a spring cooking class with Fallon Bader, who actually used to be in my position. So super grateful she's a part of this conference and continuing on the journey with us. She'll be teaching a cooking class on how to make garden pesto pasta, root veggie fritters, and herbed yogurt dip. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty hungry right now, so that sounds really good. It's a kid-friendly, super springy recipe. I've uploaded the recipes to the HOVA app, so you can go ahead and grab all those ingredients ahead of time and cook along with Fallon if you would like. Then we move into week 3. Which is the theme is building a school garden initiative, which Daphne and Randy spoke about a little bit. Actually, everyone kind of spoke about that. Our first day on Tuesday of week 3, we will have a presentation from me and Nisa and Brittany and Travis. So we could play this video.
Welcome to the School Garden Conference. We're really excited to have you. I'm here to talk about a presentation that's going to be happening on April 13th. It's a Tuesday, 3:30 to 5:30. And in this presentation, there'll be 3 of us presenting, me, Nisa, Kateri, and Chavez. And we're all really passionate about school gardens. We're going to be talking about different aspects of getting one going. How do you design it? What do you put in it? How do you make it effective for teaching and learning? What kind of programming can you do in a garden? And how many people are doing gardens? What are they doing around our city? And so we're going to be talking about all of these things in our presentation. We'd really love to have you. See you then. Welcome to the School Garden.
And so in addition to the School Gardens 101 presentation, we will have another presentation by Liana Son about drip irrigation. So if you are mystified by drip, come and be demystified. You will learn to plan, purchase, and proceed with the installation and or repair of basic drip systems in this session. Appropriate for smaller plots like school gardens. You're going to learn why, how, and the troubleshooting of basic drip irrigation systems. Super useful, so grateful for Liana and their presence in this conference. Then we'll move to the second day of week 3, Thursday. where we will do a workshop called Investigating Soil to Understand Science Skills. That's actually not Liana. I don't know why. I'm sorry I have their name there. It will be, sorry, this is a, I believe this is, you know what this, I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna look it up on Hoover.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip to the second one. I got a little confused there. We will have a workshop called Cultivating Social Emotional Learning with restorative practices and connections to school-based gardening. This workshop will explore how to use restorative practices in the garden. I'm really excited because Ana Flores, who is a behavior redirector at Whittier and has worked closely with Food Corps members there in the past, will be sharing her experience. And we'll be learning about healing from trauma, past and present, systems of inequity and racism and stress, exploring mindfulness activities that are currently being introduced through APS schools, and discuss how garden spaces and the plots of lands where our schools sit can continue to be a source of healing and relationship building. So I believe this workshop is Exploras. I'm sorry I put that. Investigating soil to understand science skills. The description is identify and provide examples of different science practices that are used in the garden, in particular through the exploration of soil, exploring different characteristics and functions of soil, as well as building your own definitions of what science is. Learning to apply science practices in a school garden or outdoor learning setting, and walking away ready to use ideas for activities and extensions. You'll need to gather some materials for that workshop, so do check it out on Whova ahead of time. And then the last day of week 3, we'll have another awesome networking day. This time, Miss Alicia Chavez will be guiding us in a discussion around the 4 traditional New Mexico concepts that are uplifted in the Ciclos de la Tierra curriculum. It's a beautiful curriculum by Sesos, and we will be, well, the curriculum, Ciclos de la Tierra, is a school garden curriculum, and it's immersed in the local history and traditions of the Central Rio Grande Valley, Valle de Atrisco, and Barillas neighborhood. So we will be discussing those concepts as well as indigenous concepts across the world. So come, bring your words from different cultures to honor connection to land and community, and to have a fun time together. And then our last week, week 4, is themed teacher-driven instructional practices and tools. On our first day, we will learn about soil, compost, and the ecology of a sustainable garden. And Bridget and Marissa are here, so I don't know if you guys want to do a quick shout out to your session. I invite you to if you'd like.
Go for it, Marissa.
We're talking about a lot of things. We're talking about kind of like the ecosystems around, the ecosystems around, you know, what builds plants and helps them grow. We're talking about composting at home and the components of compost and how compost supports life. Kind of like with the concept of that, you know, we have soil and we have the earth around us, and we don't need to purchase it. We can just take what we have at home, learn how to work with it and improve it, and also cut down on food waste in the process. And anything else, Bridget, you can think of?
No, just like that soil is so exciting and so full of life, and that we are able to contribute to that life every day. And that's pretty amazing and magical. So that, and then we're including lots of curriculum to share that is hopefully pretty useful in terms of breaking down that exploration. So you can invite your students to have explorations in their own in their own backyard, side yard, front yard, curbside.
Yes, I'm so looking forward to that workshop. So then, in addition to Bridget and Marissa's workshop, we will have another workshop by Liana, which is about using your school's food waste for effective composting. So super excited about this. If you're new to composting, or you're thinking about how to start a composting program at the school with the school's either lunch waste or breakfast waste, or for the garden, you'll learn basics and methods of composting that are regionally appropriate. You'll learn to redistribute waste to compost, the collection and management within food systems at and with schools. You'll learn to produce and facilitate lessons, activities, and projects to better integrate compost into institutional culture. So super excited about that one too. Then we will have our second day, which is our last day, Earth Day. And on this day, we will have a few presentations from different students throughout the district who are gonna kind of showcase their school garden, talk about why school gardens are important to them, why they're interested in growing food. We're gonna have the New Mexico 2050 agricultural interns at Cornelio Candelaria Organics with Senor or Don Lorenzo himself. And they will be presenting on what it's like to be an agricultural intern and learn and work on a farm with a farmer. We will have Jose Baca with Together for Brothers, and he's a Van Buren Middle School student, so he'll be shouting out his garden over there. And stay tuned, we may have a couple other sites there as well. And that's pretty much it. This is the link again for how to use Whova if anyone has any qualms about that. And then just really thank you to our planning committee. This is everyone who served, as well as all of our awesome presenters. Thank you all for taking the time today and for being here, for your beautiful words. I love all the poetry. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow and through the month of April. We are virtual, but please be in your gardens, be planting, upload those pictures and videos to the community page. We've already got a lot of pictures on there. Plant with each other. And thank you for being here. Get that vitamin D for sure. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.